Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or The Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going in depth into my top week number 18 championship round waiver wire ads for the 2022 fantasy football season. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, cool graphics gonna fly on the screen right now, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. Today's video is being brought to you guys by DraftKings Sportsbook. They have a great offer for you guys that we're going to talk a little bit more in depth in a little bit later. Bet $5 on any sport pregame money line if you're a new user, and you'll receive $200 in free bets instantly. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 18 waiver wire ads. We begin with the running back position at number 1 with Tyler Algier of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week at home in Atlanta. Currently owned in 65% of leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. So if you play on NFL, CBS, ESPN, any of those other fantasy football platforms, then the ownership percentage is going to be slightly different. Though I will note that in some cases there could be a drastic difference in ownership percentage depending on which platform you play on. Week 17 up against the Arizona Cardinals, Tyler Algier went to Pound Town as the RB number 11 in half PPR. Now, this video is being recorded prior to Monday Night Football, so Tyler Algier might finish the week as like the RB 12 or 13, but all of these stats for the running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends are prior to Monday Night Football. He had 20 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown, as well as 1 reception on 1 target for 12 yards, 3 straight games of 13 or more half PPR points. Now, I know Cordero Patterson got a little bit more usage last week and fell into the end zone as well up against the Arizona Cardinals, but ultimately Tyler Algier is the clear number 1 running back on this team, and the biggest positive of the Atlanta Falcons is they could be winning by 40 or getting the ever-living shit beaten out of them, and they are still going to be running the rock the whole entire game, giving an extra boost to Tyler Algier. Also, the Bucs might end up benching their starters since they already clinched a playoff berth in the AFC or the NFC South after beating the Carolina Panthers. So now Tyler Algier might have an even softer defense to face. At number 2, we got Chase Edmonds, running back of the Denver Broncos, going up against the LA Chargers at home in Denver. 21% owned on Yahoo last week up against the Chiefs in Kansas City. RB 26.5 PPR, 7 rushes for 34 yards, and 3 receptions on 3 targets for 39 yards. The snap count for the running back position last week of the Denver Broncos, Latavius Murray played 60% of snaps. Chase Edmonds played 59% of snaps. So ultimately, while I definitely don't think that Chase Edmonds is a must-start running back this week, if you are extremely down bad at running back and need a fill-in, I honestly think Chase Edmonds is the second best option outside of Tyler Algier. The LA Chargers have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, so I think Chase Edmonds could get it done in this spot. Definitely not a must-start running back. I think Tyler Algier is, but after Chase Edmonds, to me, things really start to fall off of a cliff. At number 3, we have Zach Moss, running back of the Indianapolis Colts, going up against the Houston Texans. 46% owned on Yahoo Fantasy. Week 17 up against the Giants in MetLife. RB 32.5 PPR, having 15 carries for 74 yards. He is definitely 100% in a committee with Deion Jackson, which hurts his upside. Though, if you need 7 or more half PPR points, you're probably going to get it with Zach Moss. He scored 7 or more points in all of the last 3 games. Again, though, to me, the upside isn't even as high as Chase Edmonds. Nowhere near the same level as Tyler Algier. And if you're in your fantasy championship, which this is week 18, I hope you don't have to play Zach Moss. At number 4, we have Let Him Cook, James Cook, running back of the Bills, going up against the Patriots, 55% owned on Yahoo. James Cook hasn't played yet since Monday Night Football hasn't kicked off, so we're going to look at his stats from week number 16. It is also important to note that if the Buffalo Bills lose this game to the Cincinnati Bengals, they may end up benching their starters in week 18, which could actually lead to James Cook seeing more touches, since I think they would bench Devin Singletary, not James Cook. Week 16 up against the Chicago Bears in Chicago. RB 10.5 PPR, having 11 carries for 99 yards and a tug. 1 reception on 2 targets for 9 yards. Again, another guy that I'm not really heavily advocating for. We'll see what happens tonight if the Buffalo Bills end up winning this week or losing. I still think James Cook is all right, but It's really going to hinge on what actually happens tonight. Like, what is James Cook's usage looking like? Is he going to go back to being like RB35, or is he going to finish in the top 12 again? Because if he does, then I would probably move him all the way up to number 2 at the running back position. At number 5, we have Rolls-Royce Freeman of the Houston Texans going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indianapolis, 1% owned on Yahoo. Week 16 versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, RB44 in half PPR. That was week 17. I apologize for that. Tied with Zonovan Knight and Dalvin Cook. He had 7 rushes for 19 yards, 3 receptions on 5 targets for 20 yards. Another guy that is very much in a committee. He's in a committee with Dare Ogunbowale. The Houston Texans suck absolute donkey hog. So again, this is just a guy where you're saying a prayer up to the fantasy football gods that if for some reason you have to play Royce Freeman, you need everything to go your way for him to be any bit reliable for fantasy football. Now we pivot to the wide receiver position, beginning with Zay Jones of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Tennessee Titans, 65% owned on Yahoo. Last week up against the Texans in Houston. This guy shit the bed big time. Wide receiver, 55.5 PPR, tied with George Pickens. 3 receptions on 5 targets for 24 yards. Now he's had 2 straight absolute fucking duds for fantasy football. But we all know deep down that the upside is still there. There's still a shot that he goes out up against the Tennessee Titans and lets his nuts hang and drops 30-plus fantasy points because we've seen it this season. This is a must-win game for the Jaguars. Now, obviously, if everything somehow goes their way and they lose, they could still somehow make the playoffs. But again, that is a crazy scenario. This game is on Saturday. This is the prime time Saturday night football game. They need to beat the Titans, basically. To secure their spot, they need to win. You win and you're in. I think Zay Jones could be a huge piece of this offense, and I'm shocked that he's only owned in 65% of leagues. At number 2, we got Treylon Burks of the Tennessee Titans going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in that exact same game. Only 41% owned on Yahoo. Another guy that I figured would be owned in a lot more leagues. Week 17 versus the Dallas Cowboys, wide receiver 22 in half PPR, 4 receptions on 8 targets for 66 yards, 1 rush for 20 yards. Now, the team, obviously, after that game, after they got butt-fucked by the Dallas Cowboys, they had to reevaluate things. They have to say, hey, are we going to go with Malik Willis or Josh Dobbs? Now, it was announced today that they're going to go with Josh Dobbs. Malik Willis was an unmitigated disaster under center. The guy fucking sucks. He sucks. So the fact that Dobbs is under center, I'm not saying Dobbs is the second coming of Tom Brady or something like that, but Josh Dobbs has enough spark in him to throw the rock to Treylon Burks. I know last week Derrick Henry, D-Rock Henry was not playing, and Derrick Henry's going to play in this game, but they're going to have to pass. The Jaguars have an explosive offense, and I think Treylon Burks could end up being a league winner at number 3. So these first 2 guys I really like. After this, you're kind of scavenging the bottom of the barrel. Now, I'm not saying that Isaiah Hodgins is a bad play this week, but there's a lot of outside factors going on with this Giants team. Going up against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia, 9% owned on Yahoo. The Eagles need to win this game to secure the number 1 seed. Jalen Hurts might be playing. I don't think he'll play, but you never know. Week 17 up against the Colts. Hodgins was the wide receiver 20 and half PPR, having 4 receptions on 5 targets for 42 yards and a touchdown. Isaiah Hodgins has had multiple good games this season. I genuinely believe he's a good player. The issue is that the Giants are reported to potentially bench their starters in this spot. Again, this is why we try not to play fantasy football the final game of the season, because teams will bench their fucking starters. Which is why all my leagues end in week 17. So if you're still here in week 18, try to convince your commissioner to switch it to week 17. But Isaiah Hodgins, to me, isn't necessarily a starter. Slayton's the starter. I'm Rick James, bitch. Ricky James is the starter. So I think Isaiah Hodgins is still going to get playtime, but without Daniel Jones, how reliable can he be? At number 4, we got Kadarius Toney of the Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas, 28% owned on Yahoo. But before we break down Kadarius Toney and then the other wide receiver and then the quarterback and tight end position, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our sponsor over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Now, if you're a brand new user at DraftKings Sportsbook, you click on the link in the video description down below. They have an amazing offer for you. Again, you got to be a new user. You sign up using the link in the video description. You bet $5 on any sport pregame money line, and you will receive $200 in free bets instantly. Doesn't matter if your first bet wins or you get absolutely destroyed on your first bet, you will still be given $200 in free bets. You don't even have to win. They will be paid out as 8 free $25 bets. So make sure that you take advantage of this now if you're new to DraftKings Sportsbook before it disappears. This offer is even better than the one we had over the last couple of weeks. It is now $200 in free bets, and you don't even have to win your first bet to get it. So please make sure that you take advantage of this offer before it disappears. Helps me out a ton. It also helps you out a ton because you get a big boost to your bankroll instantly. At number 4, back on into things, we got Kadarius Toney going up against the Raiders. Week 17 up against the Broncos at home in Kansas City. Wide receiver 32.5 PPR, 4 receptions on 4 targets, go 4 for 4 like he was at Wendy's for 71 yards and a fumble. Week 17 snap counts at the wide receiver position. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, 83%. Mr. Corvette, Juju Smith-Schuster, the TikTok King, 65%. Justin Watson, 37%. Kadarius Toney, number 4 on the team with 32%. And Sky with 2 Ys more, 25%. So again, clearly Zay Jones and Treylon Burks are the premier options. If you're down bad, you got to play Toney. There's worse options than him. The matchup against the Raiders is a wet dream. The Raiders defense is absolute bottom of the barrel dog shit. I wouldn't even wipe my asshole with the Raiders defense. They're that bad. It's that disgusting. So at the end of the day, I think Toney's a great player. The problem is, the pecking order is very clear. Now, his snap count has increased over the last couple of weeks. So it's possible that he outsnaps Justin Watson and he's number 3. But I highly doubt he's going to crack the top 2 in terms of snap counts, and they also have Travis Kelce. So again, if you have to play Kadarius Toney, there's a lot worse options out there than him. But do I see him taking you over top and winning your fantasy championship for you? Fuck no, baby. At number 5, we got Rashid Shaheed of the Saints going up against the Panthers, 6% owned on Yahoo. Week 17 up against the Eagles in Philadelphia, wide receiver 21.5 PPR, 6 receptions on 6 targets for 79 yards. He has had 2 solid games in his last 4 games and has had over 4 targets in all 4 of those games. He's a big play receiver. Andy Dalton seems to like to throw a deep strike to him at least once a game. So I think if when push comes to shove, if maybe someone got hurt for your team, or maybe you're in a scenario where, I have Darius Slayton, who I normally start, and I can't start him because he might get benched, or you got another player on a team like Chris Godwin who might get benched, and you have to play Rashid Shaheed, then okay. But again, this isn't an upper echelon option. Now we move to the quarterback position, headlined by Big Cock Brock Purdy. You just lost to Big Cock Brock of the Niners going up against the Cardinals. 45% owned on Yahoo. Week 17 up against the Raiders in Viva Las Vegas. Quarterback 10 on the week, 22 completions on 35 attempts for 284 yards and 2 touchdowns with an INT, 2 rushes for -3 yards. He has had 4 solid starts in a row, and the 5th game that he played was against the Dolphins. That wasn't technically a start because Jimmy Guap, Jimmy G-Spot, Jimmy Pornstar got hurt in that game. Purdy had to come in, so it's not a start. But in that game, he looked good too. So he's looked good in every single game. The Arizona Cardinals defense is dog shite. It's awful. So could Big Cock Brock do good in this game? Yes. The Niners are playing for the number 1 seed, so it's not like they're just going to roll over here and let the Arizona Cardinals spank them up a little. No, that's not going to happen. Brock Purdy should be in the whole game unless they take a dump on their chest and the game's just over, and then they bench Brock Purdy because they're up by 1 million. So I like Brock Purdy a ton. He is my number 1 quarterback to stream on the week. At number 2, we got Jared Stidham of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Chiefs. Only 1% owned on Yahoo, obviously. Who in their right mind would have galaxy brained themselves to start Jared fucking Stidham last week? Week 17 versus the Niners. Quarterback 3 against the best defense in the NFL. 23 completions on 34 attempts for 365 yards. 3 tugs, 2 interceptions, 7 rushes for 34 yards. Who saw this coming? No one. No one in their right mind thought that Jarrett Stidham was going to come in against the best defense, in my opinion, in most people's opinion, in the NFL, and spank them up. Now, I know, but Nick, the Niners ended up winning. Sure, in overtime, they won. Congrats. I had zero. I thought Stidham was going to finish dead last at quarterback. Dead fucking last. DFL. And he goes ham. I like Stidham here against the Chiefs. Chiefs defense doesn't look the best. This is a Chiefs team, though, that does have to win. So they're going to keep ramping the points up. The Raiders are going to be coming from behind, pause. They're going to have to throw the rock a lot. So I like Stidham. Call me crazy. Now, what could this be? Just a one-game blip? And could he suck absolute ass in this game? Definitely. But again, if you're having to start a waiver wire quarterback this week, YOLO, we're going to play Jarrett Stidham. At number 3, we got Mr. Unlimited, Russell Wilson of the Denver Broncos, Mr. Dangerous. Feeling a little dangerous. Going up against the Chargers, 49% owned on Yahoo. Week 17 up against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. Quarterback 5, 26 completions on 38 attempts for 222 yards and a touchdown with an interception, as well as 4 rushes for 27 yards and 2 tutties. Now, it is important to note that he's had 3 good games this season. 2 of his best games were against the Chiefs, and his other solid game was up against the Raiders. Now, the Chargers' defense is far from ideal. The Chargers' defense is pretty bad. So could Russell Wilson, after the firing of that stooge Nathaniel Hackett, play big like he did last week? Yeah. Maybe Russell Wilson will be good next year. We shall see. But maybe he finishes strong here. To be honest with you, I kind of like Russell Wilson this week. And hopefully that doesn't come bite me in the ass. Now we move to the tight end position, beginning with Taysom Hill of the Saints going up against the Panthers. 53% owned on Yahoo, which... how is it not like 90%? Week 17 up against the Eagles in Philadelphia. Tight end 6.5 PPR, 1 reception on 1 target for 9 yards, 14 rushes for 46 yards and a tug, 4 straight 10+ half PPR points games. He's been very reliable and has big upside up against a defense that's as banged up as the Carolina Panthers. He's going to get opportunities to throw the ball. I talked about this on the waiver wire video for Stochastic Fantasy Football. It's hilarious. You bench Jameis, but when you need to throw the ball deep, you take Andy Dalton out and you throw Taysom Hill in. How does that make sense? It makes no sense. Taysom Hill, he's going to get opportunities to throw. He's going to be able to run. He's going to maybe even catch a fucking touchdown against the Panthers. I like Taysom Hill. And number 2, again, very reliable recently. Number 2, Tyler Conklin of the Jets going up against the Miami Dolphins. My Dolphins in Miami, 29% owned on Yahoo. If the Dolphins lose this game, I don't know what's going to happen. I am going to be enraged to the maximum. I am going to tweet out a bunch of expletives. It's going to be bad. Extremely bad. From 8-3 to fucking 8-8, maybe 8-9. Not acceptable. Heads are going to have to roll. Things are going to have to change. Things are going to need to change. Week 17 against Seattle. Tight end 10.5 PPR. 6 receptions on 6 targets for 60 yards. It appears that Magic Mike White likes throwing the ball. I definitely prefer Taysom Hill to him, by far. But if I had to play Conklin, I wouldn't be that sad, if I'm being honest with you. And again, the Dolphins' defense is better at home. This game is in Miami. I hope the Dolphins' defense steps up, but we all know they're prone to, on 3rd down, giving up like a 50-yard touchdown. So maybe that'll be Conklin this week. And number 3, we got Double J, Jawan Johnson of the Saints going up against the Panthers. 2 Saints tight ends as top tight end waiver wire options. 28% owned on Yahoo. Week 17 up against the Eagles in Philly. Tight end 17.5 PPR tied with Isaiah Likely. 5 receptions on 7 targets for 62 yards. This guy's been pretty reliable over the last couple of games. I know he had 1 down game, but besides that, he's been over 10.5 PPR points in a majority of games recently. Panthers defense is banged up, like I said. So again, there's a lot worse options than Jawan Johnson. Again, I'm not banging the drum down on my knees, giving this guy the gawk 9,000 special. But when push comes to shove, if you had to play Jawan Johnson, I'm not going to scoff at you. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below as well as hitting that like button. I would appreciate it a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. Again, today's video is brought to you guys by DraftKings Sportsbook. If you're a brand new user, and click on the link in the video description and bet $5 on any pregame money line, you receive $200 in free bets instantly. It's a no-brainer. Make sure you take advantage of it. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, good